Howdy, as promised, this is a little smidgen of a tutorial about research and kind of good places to get research information. Um, we're going to be flipping back and forth from sort of website to stuff, so that's why I'm not doing it as a regular thing. You can start with a Google image search, or your search engine of choice. Feel free. The problem with any sort of open search engine is that it is limited and expansive. It is limited. Google tailors its search results to your prior searches. It's also, whenever you do a Google image search, you get everything. So, for example, let's go in and let's do a quick Google search, images.google.com, and let's pick, we're going to start on Greek Greek tomorrow. So let's say Greek costumes, Greek clothing. And you'll get a whole bunch. You'll get drawings, Pinterest, edu. That's pretty cool. So you get a little look at this, pages and pages and pages of costumes and wraps and naked people. That's the one thing that you need to be aware of with Google image search, is that if you don't turn the safe search off, so I have the safe search on, filter explicit results, so I won't get adult content. Often that is a hindrance, not because we want adult content, but because sometimes Google is a little too prudish, and sometimes you want artwork and not necessarily just want nothing. So let's turn the safe search off. We're going to probably get more of explicit stuff, but that's okay, because sometimes we'll get fantastic stuff like this. But you'll notice that we're getting pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of stuff. So it is expansive and it is not discerning. You have to bring your own level of discernment to your Google image search. I am not saying that is not, the Google image search is bad. Don't ever do it. Feel free to do away. But just be aware that sometimes you will not get what you are looking for. The other thing about a Google image search is that it is not peer reviewed. Anybody named Jim can post on it. Anybody with a high school student that knows nothing about clothing can post on it. The whole way up to a PhD that has studied Greek clothing from the beginning of time to the end of time can post on it. So it is not peer reviewed. We want your images to be peer reviewed. No guarantee what you're going to get. What you get is what you asked for in a Google image search. It is limited and expansive. Some good sources. You can certainly use Google image search to start from. So once again, we saw an edu up here. I would totally click on that and see what this one is, an edu. See what they're from, but make sure you click through. You cannot, whenever you do your citations, you cannot list that you looked in Google as your citation. So make sure whenever you find an image that you like, that you click on through. Look, it's costume history class of basic garments, tunic-like version. So this person is not giving me very much information, and I probably wouldn't use it, but I might hit back to home and see what else there. Oh, look. Costume history, antiquity to 19th century. We should take that course. We should keep taking this course. I've been talking to myself in my office for a little bit too much lately, so I'm going to get a little bonkers. Okay, so this is a good place to start. You can also start Wikipedia. Please do not use the information on Wikipedia as gospel, as peer-reviewed. Wikipedia is not peer-reviewed, but it also, the good thing about, let's go ahead and check it. So Wikipedia, again, Greek clothing, we're going to type in Greek or Greek costume. I forgot I didn't go over that in the introductory introductory lecture, so I'll have to come back and do like a little thing about the difference between clothing, costume, and fashion. So you'll notice that they have lots and lots of stuff. They have sources. But again, this is an open source. It's not peer reviewed except by the internet. Again, so you cannot trust it. Anybody can edit it. I could write in that ancient Greeks wore Nikes, and until somebody catches it, people will take it as gospel. So use a little discernment about what's it called? About Wikipedia. The best part about Wikipedia is this. Don't even read it, just scroll down, or you can read it for a little hint, but scroll down, because you get these great, look, the Metropolitan Museum of Art has an ancient Greek dress. There's also links, external links, sometimes that are pretty fantastic. This is Nova Roma. I have no idea what it is. Sometimes the links are bad. And you'll notice that they didn't really give me anything interesting or anything good. But sometimes you'll find stuff that is kind of fantastic. And you can certainly use Wikipedia if you need a little help. It will not replace my lectures. It will not replace the textbook. I am knowledgeable. The people in the textbook are experts. So keep that in mind as you go through things. Okay, so Google image search and Wikipedia. Some good sources. Library of Congress has some great sources, especially when we move into American. Let's go ahead and take a look over there. Enter. There we go. The Library of Congress has this thing called the Digital Collections of Prints and Photographs and Performing Arts and stuff, and maps, which I spend entirely too much time on. You want the digital collection or prints and photographs, and you can come in and you'll notice that it has a whole bunch of different collections. So if you want photos of Abraham Lincoln's, the Alan Lomax collection. So there's some really interesting stuff in here. It's purely Americana, but and there's a lot of it, but you can kind of find your way towards something. And I love it. You can also do the New York Public Library. Libraries are a really good source for information because sometimes they digitize their collections, specifically if you're looking for a specific era or specific locale. So if we were doing, if I had to do a project with the clothing of New York, I would send you to New York Public Library. If we were talking about Chicago, if we were talking about Pittsburgh, I would send you to their specific libraries. University libraries are also pretty interesting, that sometimes universities have the money and they'll do some digitizing. Again, their libraries and universities have experts at their disposal, so often you will get some really good information. Historical museums are another good one. A lot of historical museums, fashion clothing in museums is becoming a larger and larger segment because people are finally figuring out that clothing is pretty important. So often, like the Indianapolis Museum of Art has a pretty large clothing repository. I don't know if it's online yet or not, but it is still pretty good. The best place you're going to find really good information is museum archives. And again, I know I said don't use Wikipedia as much as you should, as much as you want, but look at this. Wikipedia has a list of museums by state, by country, which is spectacular. So if we're talking about museums in Egypt, or let's go down to Greece, we're talking about Greece, museums in Greece. You can take a look at the archaeological museums, Salatic art. I'm getting distracted. Don't get distracted, April. We're going to talk about this. So that's kind of great, that sort of thing. The Smithsonian Institute is another fantastic resource. I don't think I have it up here yet. For museum museum collections. Again, it takes a little navigation, so it tells you, it has all of these plan your visit, view, search our collections, and they have collections. And this is pretty common for all museums. So if you want to do a search instead of prowling through, doing a browse. A search is sort of your fastest way to get somewhere. So usually museums, and we're going to do a couple other museums just to take a look at. Usually museums have their collection button here, or you can do a search button. So collection search is what you want, and it's going to be a billion. Look, it's 1.4 million online media files. Whoo-wee. So you can type in fashion. Let's try fashion first. And let's take a look and see what comes up. You'll notice that it is kind of a broad search. I'm sure you guys have done good internet searching or good searching practices in one of your classes, but I have to hit search again. Let's see what it comes up. There we go. So it's pretty broad. We got 12,000 documents. So that might not have been the best thing. But often in museum searches, they also have that you can get advanced. You can kind of get mode of fashion. Let's see, include term there, include. So now it's going to be a little better, and then a little bit closer, a little bit closer. This is really important. Something like this is really important whenever you're searching for, whenever you're doing your research for your designer. That you can come in and kind of do this work for it as well. And you'll notice that it has a whole bunch of different stuff in there. Some internet resources, and we'll do this, we'll come back to this. Let's do a couple more. So this is the Smithsonian Institute. Another great resource is the museum at the Fashion Institute in New York City. I know. So what I did is whenever you first come in to FIT NYC, that you'll get a whole bunch of awesome stuff. Don't get distracted. You want to click collections. Click collections, and you can search the collection. So you need to know specifically kind of what you're looking for, and it'll allow you to break it sort of down into centuries. So let's go into 18th and 19th century and see what we can find. And they actually have, this is stuff in their collection, they actually have images. And again, like I said, look at that fringe. They have a little bit of information about what it's made, the year, where it came from, that's the provenance, the object number, and the unusual fabric. It looks like it is lamb's wool. So this is fantastic. We've got, look how much stuff we've got, because it is a fashion institute. This is a good resource whenever we get a little closer for your morgues as well. How to navigate foreign museums. So if you end up at the Louvre, if you end up at a museum in Toulouse-Lautrec, if you are Toulouse, if you end up in a Spanish museum, or if you're looking for something in Egyptian, whatever. One thing that you want to do is usually, once again, up in the right, they have select your language. So often really good museums like the Louvre will allow you to choose what you want. So that's the map, or you select the language that you're in. Again, we're going to go to collection, search the collection, and these have gotten so much better. So let's type in, this time, let's type in costume and see what comes up. And so we search for fashion at FIT, or we search by decade, FIT. Let's take a look, come faster. So you'll notice that they have, this is really fantastic because you'll notice that they break it down into where it is stored. So this is for 2nd century Greek. There's vessels. So you have 7 pages of stuff. A buffoon with a lute. I am in. So you can kind of pick through. Getting distracted, don't get distracted. Pick through and choose what you want. You'll notice that clothing did not get us a lot. I'm wondering if costume didn't get us a lot. I bet you clothing will get us more. Another one of my favorite museums is the Victoria and Albert Museum. They focus on sort of handicrafts and stuff. Again, I just hit collections. And I'm going to scroll down. So the related content is so architecture, Asia, ceramics. We're going to keep going down till fashion, and it has its own sort of bit. And you'll notice that it kind of forces you into sections, but you can also just go up and search for. Let's try clothing this time. So it's what you get whenever you type in clothing is that you get articles. You won't necessarily get pictures. So poke around, figure out what is working for you, what's not working for you. The last thing I want to talk about in this little section is some internet resources. I put these last because they're the squiffiest. They're kind of bothering. You got to be wary of the information given, unless it's a .edu or .gov or .org. You got to be kind of careful. Those are sort of reserved for organizations, universities, colleges, and stuff that people know what they're talking about. The library databases is a great place to go. There's lots of stuff. If you're local, go to the library for your research. I have gotten in a ton of really excellent clothing and fashion books that might help you as you work on your presentations and stuff. We have a couple Flickr. Flickr Commons is pictures that anybody can do. Getty Images is from the Getty Image Archive. The last one I want to talk about is Pinterest. Now Pinterest, and I will tell the truth, I use Pinterest because it is fantastic. But again, there is no authority behind it. So if we go into Pinterest and we type in Greek clothing, we're going to get, it's an aggregate site. So anybody who has pinned something, the pin will show up. And you notice that it is kind of, you get a little Greek, what era do you belong to? Look at those shoes. Look at this ancient Greek royal dress that's been remade. It's a Facebook thing. Greek goddess top. So we're not necessarily getting stuff that is authoritative, but we're getting a lot of it. The good thing that what Pinterest does is that it helps with the search stream. So here is a here's a caryatid. So what I can do is I can click on it, and then I can go to the site that it came from, because that is a great sculpture. It's found on Wikipedia. But in other searches and other places you're going to be able to find stuff that works really, really, really well. So you can use Pinterest, but make sure you click through. Don't stop at Pinterest. Make sure you go through. And you know, if you want to follow me, I have some pins already. I just clicked on my name, my boards. And let's just zip down to, so here's my Egyptian page with my 6 pins. You might recognize some of these images, or maybe not. So I'm going to click on this one and see where this is. But I mean, look, there's the perfume thing. There's a wig, jewelry. There's the pleated over the arm. There's one, the Calceris. It's found on oldarts.info. So historic, let's click through and see old arts and photographs of the world. So there might be, you know, so there's a date on it. There is, you know, the statue is pretty great. Let's see if there's any provenance. You're getting some really good detail work about what we're looking at. Let's see if we click if there's any more information. No, it's just better pictures. So be leery of Pinterest. It might get you in trouble. The same thing with Flickr and everything. Okay, so if you have any questions about research, if you get stuck, fortunately people love to put stuff up on the internet, so you shouldn't have a problem. But just so you know, if you end up getting stuck, just let me know. Hopefully this helped. Thank you.